Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at weather next week's 10 days for today's second video. It's going to take us into the first week of February, and we'll actually be able to extend into the second week of February with the extended GFS and also the ECM ensembles, and of course have a look at CFS V2 for the next month as well. That takes us into the second half of February, of course. So, just released weekend forecast, and that's looking quite cold in weekend, cold and wintry, very snow potential in the week ahead, and to have a look at the weekend forecast, see what's going on there. Tonight, we're going to update Snow Watch, looking at the chances of some snow showers in the next 24 hours, and then perhaps a little bit more impactfully on Tuesday, but we're very, very unsure about what's happening there on Tuesday. But I'll bring you up to date with all of the snow developments when we do Snow Watch this evening. It'll probably be quite late that's up. Probably be around 8 o'clock, but I'll keep you posted on the guys of his social media accounts. But this is your week to 10 day video update. Going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for the next week to 10 days from the Penn State University. We've got the ECM WF here on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 10,000 feet is an area in the actual high pressure, low pressure, being moved around by a jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure and blue to low pressure. So we can see what's happening with the ECM WF in the 7 to 10 day time frame, and as I said, it takes around the 6th or the 7th of February. We've got below average heights here in the northern part of the Atlantic, and also a trough of below average heights across central parts of Europe. The flow and the jet is coming across the Atlantic, quite a strong jet stream coming across the Atlantic, rather like that, diving southwards. So we're looking unsettled and potentially quite cold and wintry there in the 7 to 10 day time frames. We're on the cold side of the jet stream. We could well be pulling down cold air into this trough of below average height. So one thing we're missing is a genuine northern blocking feature. We have got quite a lot of high pressure over the pole. It extends up from western Russia into the top of the North Pole itself, but it's not over towards Greenland. So the one thing we're still looking for, still waiting for, is a proper block around Greenland to really force this jet stream down to the south and to lock us in to very high latitude blocking and really cold conditions over an extended period. This is all still driving in from off the Atlantic, and whilst it is cold and whilst there is snow potential in there, at any point we can bring up milder sectors from the central part of the Atlantic and turn things milder, at least for a while. So the one thing we're still waiting for, looking for, as we have been all winter, is the northern blocking to get going around particularly Greenland, but also over the Arctic. This is the GFS. It's still looking very similar. So again, we've got the jet stream coming out of North America. They're going to be in for a hit of really severely cold weather across the northern and eastern parts of America, by the way, this week. I'm going to talk about that in the video. Extraordinarily cold weather on the way for many parts of the states, or northern eastern parts of the states anyway, in the week ahead. More about that later in the video. This is how things look in the 7 to 10 day time frame, though. The jet stream comes off the North American into the Atlantic like that, and then dives southwards again. So they're both in agreement that we've got this trough of below average heights across central parts of Europe. The jet stream with dip within the 500 millibar flow places us on the cold side of the jet, and so this is a continuation of cold and wintry conditions. You'll notice the GFS does have this ridge building down towards the Azores and off the coast of Portugal. That is going to try, it looks like in the second week of February, the GFS is trying to bring us back into a southwesterly, into a milder airflow, which will be very much at odds with the longer range output. Again, more on that very shortly. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks in terms of the upper air temperatures. We're looking at Birmingham today. We're another place on our list, of course. Someone's asked us to have a look at Birmingham today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Birmingham, and we're starting off still pretty mild, just about today. We're almost finished with the mild incursion that we've had over the past couple of days. A few more hours left of it, but overnight tonight into tomorrow the temperature is dropping, and then through next week we're looking quite cold. Again, we see the upper air temperatures are between -10 and -15 at 850 HPA in this sort of area. So again, we're talking about standard cold temperatures, nothing severely cold, but it will be cold in the weekend, and there will be snow potential, as we established in the weekend forecast. There's a risk of snow for places like Birmingham, and going further northwards in towards parts of Wales, northern England. Further north you go, the greater the risk of snow is probably going to be in the week ahead. Now, in the more extended range, going into the second week of February, which is this period just here, you'll notice there appears to be a recovery in the upper air temperatures going on. So we have got the white line. The white line is the ensemble mean. So that's taking each one of those individual coloured lines of spaghetti, grouping them together and creating a mean line. You'll notice that is rising through the end of the first week and into the second week of February. It's lifting up back towards the red line. There's a lot of scatter in there, but we have got several members of the GFS ensembles in the second week of February, but actually going very mild now, lifting temperatures up to around 5 Celsius at 850 HPA. And that green one just there, is getting perilously close to 10 Celsius at 850 HPA. That would be a taste of spring if that came off. But on the other side of the coin, there are a few ensemble members that are keeping things really quite cold. So there's a lot of scatter. It looks like the trend as you get through to the second week of February, with the GFS and its ensembles anyway, is to turn things quite a lot milder, which, as I say, is really at odds with the longer range output, which has all been very, we've been talking about it in the videos over the past few days, the CFS, the JMA, ECM, extended range. It's all been indicating northern blocking becoming increasingly dominant through February and increasingly cold weather. So what the GFS and its ensembles are doing there, I'm not at all sure, but it does appear that they want to turn things a lot milder in the second week of February. That's very extended range stuff, though, so let's just wait and see about that. Precipitation-wise for Birmingham, lots of precipitation spikes coming through, and of course, as it's cold through the week ahead, with these precipitation spikes, there is going to be a risk of snow. We've established that in weekend broadcast. More about that on Snowwatch, or in Snowwatch, coming up this evening. These are the snow spikes for sort of Birmingham, and each individual spike is indicating the chance of snow. So it works the same way as the precipitation spikes that we have in the ensemble just looking at. The difference is that this is looking at snow. So you'll see there's really two possibilities of snow in Birmingham. So there's a risk of some wintry showers tomorrow, but I don't think that'll amount to too much. The more greater risk of snow is around Tuesday, this period just here, where we've got this spike in the snow spikes. So around sort of late Tuesday into early Wednesday. And then again, Thursday through to Friday, this period just here. So any time from around sort of Tuesday to Friday or Saturday, this period just here looks like it could deliver some snow. Now, there are some very dramatic looking spikes there, which are bringing over 10 centimetres of snow to Birmingham, these ones up here. They're not particularly well supported. It looks like most of these spikes are trying to limit the snow to around sort of 5 centimetres. Bear in mind, Birmingham is quite a high place, actually. Although it's a city, it is one of the places that does tend to get quite a lot of snow because it's relatively high up. But it's an indication anyway. I'm not sure how reliable these are. They're a new feature to New Wet Essential, and we'll just sort of monitor how they perform. But certainly there is a risk of snow in the weekend away from more southern and southwestern parts of the country, where I think most of this would be primarily rain. But sort of Wales, the Midlands, northern England, Northern Ireland, and if these areas of low pressure get far enough north to Scotland, those are the areas that probably do have a risk of some quite significant snow in the days ahead. Temperature anomalies in the week ahead from the 26th of January to the 3rd of February are colder than average. So it's going to be a cold week for much of Western Europe, not only the UK, but also Ireland, France, Belgium, Holland, Western Germany, and particularly up to Scandinavia, particularly up to Norway and some central northern parts of Sweden, looking really much colder than average up there. But our temperature anomaly, yes, it is coming out colder than average in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies are looking like this from the 26th of January through to the 3rd of February, and we're looking at a slightly above average precipitation for quite a few places. So average to above average precipitation with colder than average temperatures. There is going to be the risk of some snow, as we've already established. If we go through to America, well, this is how the temperature anomaly is looking for the United States in the week ahead from the 26th of January to the 3rd of February. So western states are coming out warmer than average, but eastern states are coming out, northeastern states coming out really, really cold. So there's a proper sort of west-east split here across America, real divide between much milder temperatures that are out in the west and really cold temperatures in the east. In fact, we could be talking about record-breaking cold for northern and eastern parts of America. I know they do tend to get a lot of really cold weather anyway in northern and eastern parts of the state, but we could well be breaking records for some areas next week. Precipitation anomalies. Many parts of America are looking quite dry, particularly so in those southern states. Although Florida looks a little bit wetter than average. Up in the north, it is a bit more unsettled up there, because all of that is going to be snow. Let's show you what's happening in America. So this is the situation today. So the reason it's so mild out in the west is that we've got this ridge here sitting across western parts of America and up to the Pacific Northwest. So that's drawing up mild air up from the Pacific Ocean onto its western side of America underneath this ridge of high pressure. Further east and northeast, we've got this deep cold pool that's sitting over northern and eastern parts of Canada. The heights with that are relatively low, and that cold pool is trying to push south. And in fact, it will push southwards in the days ahead. That's how the upper air temperatures are looking today in America. So again, the coldest of the year at the moment is across Canada, but it is already really quite cold for northern and eastern parts of the states. This is kind of like standard cold for America, with the minus 15 Celsius isotherm there covering most northern and eastern parts of the states. I mean, that's, for us, that's severely cold. When we get that, very rarely, it's going to be severely cold. But in America, that's not anything to be overly sort of excited about. That's kind of like standard cold weather for northern and eastern parts of America. You notice out in the west, the upper air temperatures are looking very, very mild indeed. There's the thickness line. So again, we find that 528 thickness line is covering many northern and central parts of America. The 510 line is into the north and northeast, and the 5492 line is kind of like on the Canadian border. That's showing where that extraordinarily cold air is sitting at the moment over Canada. Now, what's going to happen is that in the week ahead, we're going to find this ridge pushing northwards in the west of America. So that's going to push up into northwestern parts of Canada. Again, taking very mild air up the eastern coast of America and Canada. At the same time, this area of low pressure is going to form across northern and eastern parts of states. For a time, that's going to bring milder air up the eastern seaboard. But on the northern side of on the northern west side of this low pressure, it will start to drag down that severely cold air out of Canada. That's Tuesday, and let's go through into Wednesday. You see that by this point, low pressure is forming over this northeastern part of America. So we've got a trough of low pressure sinking down through these northern and eastern parts of the states, taking that extreme cold air out of Canada and pushing it southwards into northern east parts of America. At the same time, it remains very mild over in the western side of America, as we have that ridge of high pressure over there. Look at the upper air temperatures by Thursday for many particularly midwestern parts of America. We are bringing the minus 30 Celsius isotherm out of Canada and down into northern and eastern parts of America. I mean, I don't know what sort of temperatures that will bring, but I would assume we're talking about maximums underneath minus 10 and minimums probably below minus 20. So it will be extreme cold conditions, dangerous cold conditions. We'll be hearing about this on the news, and you'll be seeing about it in your papers. It's going to be extraordinarily cold for northern and eastern parts of America and into the Midwest of America later on in the coming week. Very mild conditions continue, though, out in the west and in the northwest of America and Canada. Those are the thickness lines for Thursday. So again, you can see that 492 line, that pink or purple line, has moved out of Canada and it's dropped down into northern and eastern parts of America. And we're talking about populated areas here. We're talking about sort of Chicago and those kind of areas in the Midwest and moving up towards the northeastern part of the states. That is very, very extreme level of cold. I mean, it does happen in America that you can bring these extreme cold conditions out of Canada and down into North America. But I think there's a good chance we'll be seeing cold temperature records tumbling next week. It's going to be extreme, this, and obviously we have people watching in America that I'm aware of, and it will bring danger to life for northern and eastern parts of America with these cold conditions through the course of the coming week. Of course, this cold air is going to spill out of America and move into the Atlantic. So whilst that's going on, while you've got this kind of pattern, let's go back to the upper air temperatures, while you've got this kind of pattern with mild air up there with the jet stream, and then a dip in the jet stream bringing cold air down to there, you'll find the jet stream running out of America, and it tends to hit the Atlantic Ocean, and it can pep up the jet stream, and that can be impactful for us because it can bring stormy conditions in from off the Atlantic. So I have to watch out what, if any, impacts we get on our side of the Atlantic from these extreme cold conditions that they're going to have in northern and eastern parts of states in the coming week. Right, so let's have a look at the UK's weather then. This is how things are shaping up for Tuesday. So, as I said in the weekend forecast, a lot of uncertainty about Tuesday. It's this area of low pressure just here. This is based on the operational run of the GFS that I used for the weekend forecast. So we know that the GFS 6 o'clock operational run wants to take that low pressure and move it into France on Tuesday, which would restrict any snow probably to the Channel. And we'd just be looking at sort of wintry showers, snow shower type conditions on Tuesday in the north and the west. That takes us through to Wednesday, still bringing in these cold northwest winds, probably building a bit of a ridge up on Wednesday, very transiently, so a drier, quieter day on Wednesday, and then in comes the next area of low pressure on Thursday. That's moving into cold air, so Thursday could bring heavy rain to the south and southwest, chance of heavy snow through parts of Wales, the Midlands, northern England, Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland. Again, the rain-snow divide is going to be very difficult to ascertain, so we'll just have to keep you posted on that. The low pressure by Friday is slinking down into the Bay of Biscay and northern parts of France, which is turning winds into the east. That brings colder air across all parts of the country with a proper east or northeasterly there on Saturday. That will bring snow showers into eastern parts of the country. It would be cold next weekend if that came off. We lose the easy winds and the areas of low pressure by Sunday. Isobars are opening out, so it's turning dry, but there'll be a lot of hard overnight frost, maybe even severe frost over any snow cover. Now that's Monday, and we see this next area of low pressure is developing in the North Atlantic. That probably has its origins with this really cold air that's across eastern parts of America, or will be across eastern parts of America later in the week ahead. So by Monday the 4th of February, we've got this deep area of low pressure developing to the south of Greenland, and that kind of like changes the pattern a little bit for us as we get to day 10. We start to return the winds back in to the west. So by day 10, it's beginning to turn just a little bit milder, and we're starting to bring rain in from off the Atlantic, with any snow probably restricted to the far north of Scotland. Not going particularly stormy, though, you'll notice, at this stage. We get to Wednesday, the 6th of February, low pressure is still close to the country, not overly cold conditions. And then in the very extended range with the GFS, we start to build up a ridge of high pressure close to the country. That's how we look as we get to the end of a GFS run, which is Monday the 11th of February. So it's turning drier, mild upper air temperatures, but of course underneath that high pressure you may have frost and fog by night. But what's interesting about that is that it's certainly far removed from any sort of northern blocking type feature. That's kind of like a mid-latitude high pressure that's setting up across central parts of Europe, and it is trying to bring up some very mild air from southern Europe. It's a really long way off though, but we know within the GFS ensembles there's probably a few ensemble members that are doing something similar. This is a parallel GFS run. Now, this is a little bit further north with that area of low pressure on Tuesday. There it is to the southwest of Ireland. And so this is bringing a snow risk to parts of particularly central southern England on Tuesday. There's the low pressure around the Channel at 6 o'clock in the evening on Tuesday. That will bring snow to more southern parts of the country on Tuesday. That low pressure, by taking it through to Wednesday, is moving into the low countries. We're in this cold run of northwesterly winds then. By Thursday, the low pressure starting to head back in from off the Atlantic. That takes us into potential for heavy rain or heavy snow as we go through from Thursday through to Friday. Again, we've got to work out where that snow-rain divide is going to be. That low pressure then trundles across the south, pulls back these cold northerly winds next weekend. So next weekend is looking pretty cold, with risk of hard overnight frost where we've got any snow laying. Then we go through to the extended range up to day 10, and we're turning wind back into the west again from this deep area of low pressure. That starts to turn things a bit milder as we get through to the 5th of February with more of a westerly wind. And then in the more extended range, we keep it pretty flat, winds coming in from off the west, off the Atlantic, as we go up to the second week of February. That's how we look, quite unsettled. So no risk of high pressure with a parallel GFS run as it ends on the 11th of February, just rather unsettled and relatively mild conditions. Still no sign of any notable block around Greenland. GEM has us in that northwesterly wind as we go from Tuesday to Wednesday. This one's taking the low pressure into France, so it's much further south with that low pressure on Tuesday. No snow from that, but we do have these cold north to northwest winds bringing snow showers to northern and western parts of the country. There's a low pressure heading in off the Atlantic on Thursday. That's bringing the risk of rain, sleet or snow to parts of the country. This probably has a snow risk further north, more for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, less so for England and Wales. I think more of a risk of rain there. By taking it through to Saturday, that low pressure is clearing away to the east, pulling wind back into the northeast again, setting us up for quite a cold weekend next weekend with risk of some snow showers and some hard overnight frost. Moving up to day 10, we begin to pull winds back into west again, so more low pressure started heading from off the Atlantic. This time it's milder as the jet stream just begins to shift back further north a little bit. ECM again, showery, cold and showery northwesterly winds to start the week. I'm not sure where that area of low pressure is with the ECM from off the Atlantic. So it's midnight on Tuesday, so I suppose it's just there. So I think it's going towards France again with the ECMWF and that little area of low pressure. I suppose that would be it just there, but it doesn't make as much of it actually, the ECM. It does keep us in this cold north to northwesterly wind though, which bring in snow showers to northern and western parts of the country through the middle part of the week. And then into Thursday, there's the low pressure coming in off the Atlantic again, risk of rain or snow with that one. The low pressure is moving across the country from Thursday to Friday to Saturday, pulling wind back into a cold north or northeasterly. By Sunday next weekend, 3rd of February, we're into a cold north to northeast wind, bringing snow showers to northern eastern parts of the country. And then we get to day 10 and we're starting to move low pressure in from off the Atlantic, albeit it's a little bit more of a struggle to do that. And the ECM is actually trying to rise or raise pressure a little bit around Scandinavia at day 10. This is how the ECM ensembles are looking in terms of the postage stamps at day 10. So this is the 5th of February, of course, from the Icelandic Met Office. We've got 15 ensemble members, including the operational run and the control run. So the operational being the run that we're just looking at, but look like this at day 10 with below average heights out to the northwest, above average heights down to the southwest, and above average heights up to the northeast. So it's a bit of a mess, but overall we're bringing in an Atlantic flow with those 15. Then there's another 14 that have a deep trough of below average heights over the top of the UK. They're very unsettled, not overly cold. They're bringing wind in from off the Atlantic. There's a further 14 that has a mid-Atlantic ridge and extends it up towards a Scandinavian high. So we've got a mid-Atlantic ridge there, and they're backing it up towards a Scandinavian high with a trough of below average heights to our southeast. They're colder. They're bringing wind in from more of a north or northeasterly direction. And then we've got a minority option of 8 that has high pressure taking over to the northeast with the below average heights out to the west. They're turning the wind into kind of like a southeasterly or an easterly with those 8. So at day 10, there's a real split actually. There's these 15 and these 14 that are generally Atlantic driven, and they do include the control of the operational run as well. But then there's these 14 and then another 8 that have more influences from high pressure either to the north or to the northeast, and so they're a colder option at day 10. By the time we get through to 2 weeks away, 360 hours, which is the 10th of February, looks like we're moving more towards northern blocking then. So we've got above average heights, very above average heights from Scandinavia to Greenland with these 20, which includes the control run of the ECMWF. So they're setting up very cold easterly winds, and they're a really cold option, those 20 with genuine northern blocking. Then there's 16 that has a mid-Atlantic ridge and just weak blocking around Greenland with a trough sitting in the North Sea. They're quite cold. They're bringing the wind in from the north, but they're nowhere near as cold as these 20. And then there's another 15 that again has quite a notable northern blocking feature, this time centred or focused more towards Greenland with below average heights sitting over the UK. They'd be quite cold as well, and they would be bringing in a risk of snow with that trough of below average heights. But I think for a northern blocking perspective in 2 weeks time, so these 20 just here that do look really quite significantly blocked with genuine high latitude blocking there. So the ECM ensembles in 2 weeks time, they seem to want to be shifting more towards northern blocking, but I'm not sure that the GFS ensembles are. Remains very confused picture in the more extended range. Finally, the CFS V2, these are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 26th of January to the 1st of February. Trough of below average heights in the coming week over the UK. It's going to be quite cold. Above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic. There's the trough into the north and the east of America that's going to bring potentially record-breaking cold to them. We're just talking about standard cold for us, but cold enough for snow at times, and more about that on Snow Watch tonight. Then into week 2, which is the 2nd to the 8th of February, you have the below average heights moving more towards our south. The above average heights in the Atlantic are starting to ridge up towards genuine northern blocking that's setting up over the Arctic and in towards Greenland. So if anything, things are probably turning colder there with more of a northerly or potentially northeasterly influence there as we go from the 2nd to the 8th of February. Week 3 is the 9th to the 15th of February. Look at all this northern blocking that the CFS I should say, is showing then. This is the 2nd week of February. At this point, the GFS ensembles are trying to turn things quite a lot milder, but it won't be mild if the CFS has this right. Look at all that northern blocking that's from Greenland into the Arctic, with below average heights to the south of the UK. We'd be pulling in cold or potentially very cold east or northeasterly winds. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 16th to the 22nd of February, and again just masses of a northern blocking above average heights centered around Greenland, backing towards the North Pole as well. Below average heights are to our south. You'll be expecting to pull in very cold east or northeast winds with that. So we still have this idea with the long range output, but it wants to produce this extreme amount of northern blocking the further on we go into February, but we still see very little sign of it within the short range model output. Such a confusing winter. These are how the temperature anomalies are looking in week 1, the 26th of January to the 1st of February. Colder than average for the UK, and extremely or potentially even record-breakingly cold for northern and eastern parts of America. Week 2 temperature anomalies from the 2nd to the 8th of February, colder than average again. And not quite as cold for northern and eastern parts of America, but still certainly cold enough. Week 3 is colder than average once more. This is the 9th to the 15th of February. Cold average temperature anomalies on both sides of the Atlantic there. And then we go through to week 4, and it's still colder than average from the 16th to the 22nd of February for the UK, and looking brutally cold again for many parts of particularly northern, central and eastern America. So, what do you make of that? Well, it certainly looks like the states are in for it in the days ahead. We are going to be cold. There's no doubt about that. The temperatures in the week ahead are going to be cold, and it's going to be cold enough for snow at times. But there will be rain, and that's probably in the south and southwest. And then, just so much confusion as we look further ahead into February. Do we get this genuine northern blocking feature setting up? If we do get this northern blocking feature setting up, we will lock into a prolonged, potentially very cold spell of weather. But the GFS ensembles are shifting more towards milder conditions and trying to raise heights to our south, which totally goes against northern blocking. So just a case of let's see how this plays out. I think the focus for the time being got to be primarily on the coming week and the risk of snow, and that's what we'll be looking at in Snow Watch tonight. Right, that's brought you up to date with all of the developments, and tomorrow we're going to have your first seasonal model roundup for the spring of 2019. We'll have the Galsworthy Sunny roundup as well, and I think we'll probably do an ensembles watch tomorrow evening. So come back tonight for Snow Watch, and then tomorrow for all of the updates. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.